The ocean has always produced giants. Something in the water, the weightlessness, the abundance of food, and the infinity of space allow living beings to grow to sizes unthinkable on land. The blue whale, the largest animal on the planet today, weighs as much as 25 adult elephants. But even it is not the record holder in the history of life on Earth. Over 500 million years of evolution, the ocean has produced creatures next to which the blue whale would look modest. Creatures whose jaws could bite a boat in half, whose fins sliced through the water like airplane wings, whose heart was the size of a car. 5 marine giants, from the most ancient to the modern, from predators to peaceful filter feeders. Each of them pushed the boundaries of the possible and proved that nature has no upper limit. Let us start with a creature that most people do not expect to see on this list, with the ichthyosaur Shastasaurus. When we think of marine giants, we imagine sharks and whales. But long before the appearance of both, the oceans belonged to reptiles, and some of them grew to incredible sizes. Shastasaurus lived about 220 million years ago in the late Triassic period, when dinosaurs were just beginning their journey to world domination on land. This was a time when all continents were bunched into a single supercontinent, Pangaea, and the global ocean, Panthalassa, was one giant body of water encircling the planet. In this primeval ocean swam Shastasaurus, the largest of all known ichthyosaurs and one of the largest marine reptiles in history. The length of Shastasaurus reached 21 meters. This is more than a modern sperm whale and comparable to the size of an adult humpback whale. But unlike most other marine reptiles of its time, Shastasaurus was not a fearsome predator with a palisade of teeth. Its snout was elongated and practically toothless, which led scientists to an unexpected conclusion. This giant was a suction feeder. It hunted by sharply opening its mouth and creating a powerful flow of water that sucked small prey, squids, fish, and small cephalopods directly into its throat. A similar mechanism is used by some modern marine inhabitants, for example, seahorses. But on the scale at which Shastasaurus did it, nature did not experiment further. Outwardly, Shastasaurus looked like a giant torpedo, a streamlined body, 4 short flippers, and a crescent-shaped tail fin. Its eyes were relatively small compared to other ichthyosaurs. In some species, the eyes reached the size of a soccer ball and were the largest eyes among all vertebrates in history. This indicates that Shastasaurus did not hunt at depth in the darkness, but in the upper, well-lit layers of water. Shastasaurus disappeared about 200 million years ago at the end of the Triassic period, when a mass extinction reshaped the planet's ecosystems. It is worth saying that ichthyosaurs in general are one of the most underrated groups in paleontology. They were the first reptiles to return fully to the ocean and achieve perfection in the aquatic environment. Their bodies were streamlined, like those of a tuna or a dolphin, a shape that evolution arrives at again and again, regardless of who the base model is, fish, reptile, or mammal. This phenomenon is called convergent evolution, and ichthyosaurs are its textbook example. They gave birth to live young tail first, like modern dolphins, so that the newborn would not drown. They were warm-blooded, at least some species. They had huge eyes for hunting at depths where light barely penetrates, and they were incredibly successful. Ichthyosaurs existed for more than 160 million years, longer than mammals have existed to this day. Shastasaurus was their peak in terms of size, but not in terms of time. After it, ichthyosaurs continued to flourish, giving rise to dozens of species from small fish eaters to large deep-sea predators. But ichthyosaurs as a group existed for another 100 million years after it, and each of them carried the echo of this first great experiment of nature with gigantism in the ocean. The second creature is Liopleurodon. If Shastasaurus was a peaceful giant sucking in squids, then Liopleurodon was the absolute nightmare of the Jurassic seas. It was a pliosaur, a group of marine reptiles with a short neck, a massive head, and 4 powerful flippers that worked like underwater wings. Liopleurodon lived about 160 million years ago in the Jurassic period, when giant sauropods already roamed the land and pterosaurs soared in the sky. The length of Liopleurodon is estimated at 6 to 7 meters, according to the most conservative calculations based on fossil remains. This is not as impressive as the 21 meters of Shastasaurus. But size is not the main thing. The main thing is the head. The skull of Liopleurodon reached 1.5 meters in length. That is a quarter of the entire body. The jaws were set with conical teeth up to 30 centimeters long each, designed not for cutting, but for grabbing and holding prey. The bite force, according to biomechanical calculations, was monstrous, comparable to the bite force of the largest crocodiles, but multiplied by a body mass of several tons. Liopleurodon could grab a large fish, a shark, or another marine reptile and simply crush it with its jaws, like a vice crushes a nut. A caveat must be made here. In the late 90s, the television series Walking with Dinosaurs depicted Liopleurodon as a 25-meter monster terrorizing the oceans. This figure is not confirmed by paleontological data. It was taken from isolated fragmentary finds that were later revised. The real Liopleurodon was significantly smaller, but no less impressive. 6 to 7 meters of concentrated muscle mass with a 1.5-meter head stuffed with 30-centimeter teeth. This is a predator that does not need to be huge to be terrifying. However, among the pliosaurs, there were also true giants. In 2004, on the Arctic archipelago of Svalbard in Jurassic Age rocks, the skeleton of a pliosaur was discovered, which received the unofficial nickname Predator X and was later described as Pliosaurus funke. Its length is estimated at 10 to 13 meters, and its skull at 2 to 2.5 meters. This makes it one of the largest marine predators in history, comparable in size to the largest crocodiles of the Cretaceous period and significantly exceeding any modern shark. Liopleurodon and its relatives hunted everything that moved: fish, sharks, other marine reptiles, and cephalopods. They were at the top of the food pyramid of the Jurassic seas, absolute predators threatened by no one. Their flippers worked on a unique principle. Instead of rowing like oars, they performed movements similar to flight, underwater flight, if you will. Each flipper generated lift like an airplane wing, and 4 such wings allowed pliosaurs to maneuver with agility surprising for animals of such size. They could turn almost on the spot, accelerate sharply, and make lightning-fast lunges from ambush. These were not blunt brutes. They were perfectly honed killing machines. The find on Svalbard, Predator X, became a global sensation. The expedition worked in conditions that themselves deserve a separate story: Arctic tundra, permafrost, polar bears, polar night. The skeleton was frozen into the frozen ground, and jackhammers and heat guns had to be used to extract it. The rock was so hard that only a few centimeters could be cleared in a day. The work took several field seasons, and the result was worth every effort. One of the most complete skeletons of a large pliosaur ever found. Computed tomography of the skull showed that the olfactory bulbs of the brain were highly developed. The pliosaur hunted by relying on its sense of smell, sniffing out blood in the water from hundreds of meters away. Its vision was probably less important. In the murky Jurassic seas, the nose was more reliable than the eyes. One of the most grisly aspects of pliosaur biology is their possible feeding manner. Analysis of fossil coprolites, petrified excrement, showed fragments of bones of other marine reptiles, including ichthyosaurs and smaller plesiosaurs. Pliosaurs were not picky. They ate everything they could catch, including each other. Paleontologists have found pliosaur bones with tooth marks from other pliosaurs. Cannibalism was the norm, not the exception. The Jurassic Ocean was a place where size decided everything, and the only defense against a pliosaur was to be an even larger pliosaur. The third creature is the Megalodon. But since we have already talked about the Megalodon in detail, we will focus here on what makes it unique specifically in the context of marine gigantism. Megalodon, Otodus megalodon, lived from 23 to 3.5 million years ago and was the largest predatory shark in history. Length from 15 to 18 meters, weight from 50 to 100 tons. But figures do not convey the main thing. Megalodon was not just a big shark. It was a predator specialized in hunting whales, animals that were giants themselves. This places it in a unique ecological niche, a super predator feeding on super animals. Neither before nor after Megalodon has anything like it existed in the ocean. The key difference between Megalodon and other giants on this list is its physiology. Megalodon was warm-blooded or at least substantially endothermic. Its body temperature was maintained at a level of 35 to 40 degrees, which is closer to mammals than to fish. This gave it speed, endurance, and the ability to hunt in waters of any temperature. But it also required a colossal amount of food, and when the food supply began to shrink, Megalodon became a hostage to its own metabolism. Its size, its warm-bloodedness, its specialization on large prey, everything that made it the king of the ocean, became its death sentence when conditions changed. Megalodon teeth are the most common fossils of large predators in the world. They are found on every continent from North Carolina to Australia, from the bottom of the Mariana Trench to the peaks of the Andes, where millions of years ago there was a seabed. Each such tooth the size of a palm is the business card of a creature that for 20 million years was the absolute master of the world ocean. The fourth creature is Basilosaurus. Its name translates as king lizard, and this is one of the most deceptive names in paleontology. Basilosaurus is not a lizard. It is a mammal, more precisely one of the most ancient whales, living approximately 34 to 40 million years ago in the Eocene, and it was absolutely staggeringly huge. The length of Basilosaurus reached 20 to 25 meters. This is comparable to a modern fin whale and only slightly inferior to the blue whale. But the proportions of its body were completely different. While modern whales are compact, streamlined torpedoes, Basilosaurus looked like a sea serpent. A disproportionately long, thin body with a small head and tiny hind limbs, remnants of legs left from terrestrial ancestors. These legs, the size of a human palm, were completely useless for swimming and were probably used only during mating to hold a partner. They are living proof that whales descended from land mammals. Only 20 million years earlier, the ancestors of Basilosaurus walked on the ground on 4 legs. Basilosaurus was a predator. Its teeth were differentiated, like a dog's, rather than uniform like those of modern toothed whales. They included sharp front canines for grabbing and serrated side teeth for cutting flesh. It hunted large fish, sharks, and other smaller whales. Paleontologists found the digested remains of Liopleurodon, another ancient whale about 5 meters long, in the stomach of one Basilosaurus. Basilosaurus ate its own relatives. It was the first in a long line of predatory whales, and its methods were far from elegant: grab, crush, swallow. But the most surprising thing about Basilosaurus is not its size or its teeth, but its brain, or rather its absence in a relative sense. The brain of Basilosaurus was strikingly small for an animal of such size, significantly smaller than that of modern whales of comparable dimensions. This means that Basilosaurus probably did not possess complex social behavior or echolocation or those cognitive abilities that we associate with modern whales and dolphins. It was essentially a giant carnivorous machine with a small brain, the marine Tyrannosaurus of the Eocene seas. The evolution of whale intelligence occurred much later in more advanced descendants of Basilosaurus. In 2006 in Peru, a Basilosaurus skeleton was discovered in exceptional preservation, almost complete, with the skull, spine, and even tiny hind limbs. Nearby lay the bones of its victims, fish and small whales. This find allowed for the reconstruction of not only the anatomy, but also the behavior of the animal. Basilosaurus probably hunted in coastal waters, using its serpentine body to maneuver among underwater rocks and reefs. It was not a fast swimmer. Its body shape did not allow it to develop high speed over long distances, but over short distances, in ambush, it was deadly effective. Basilosaurus is a key link in one of the most exciting evolutionary stories, the transformation of a terrestrial predator into a marine giant. Its ancestor Pakicetus, which lived 50 million years ago, looked like a wolf, four-legged, covered in fur with hooves on its paws. Pakicetus hunted fish in shallow water like a modern otter. Over the next 10 million years, its descendants went deeper and deeper into the water. The legs turned into flippers, the tail into a fin. The nostrils migrated to the top of the head, turning into a blowhole. Basilosaurus is the end point of this journey. A completely aquatic creature, unable to get out onto land, but still bearing the traces of its terrestrial past. Tiny hind legs, useless in the water, but eloquent as proof of evolution. The fifth and final creature is the blue whale, Balaenoptera musculus. And while all the previous giants are long-extinct creatures known to us only by bones and teeth, the blue whale is alive. It swims in our oceans right now, and it is the largest animal that has ever existed on Earth. Not the largest marine animal, not the largest among mammals, the largest ever. In the entire history of life on this planet, 4.5 billion years, there has been no creature larger. The length of a blue whale reaches 33 meters, weighed up to 190 tons. Its heart is the size of a small car and weighs about 700 kilograms. Its aorta is so wide that a human child can swim through it. Its tongue weighs as much as an adult elephant, about 3 tons. Its tail fin alone, up to 7.5 meters wide, is equal in area to the wing of a small airplane. When a blue whale surfaces and exhales, its fountain rises to a height of 10 meters and is visible for several kilometers. But perhaps the most striking characteristic of the blue whale is its voice. Blue whales emit sounds that are the loudest produced by any living creature. Their low-frequency cries reach a volume of 188 decibels. That is louder than a jet engine at arm's length. These sounds travel through the ocean for 1,000 kilometers. A whale singing off the coast of Antarctica can be heard by another whale at the equator. Before the appearance of industrial noise pollution of the oceans, ship engines, sonars, drilling rigs, blue whales possibly communicated across entire ocean basins, maintaining contact over distances that seem impossible for a living being. A newborn blue whale is already a giant. At birth, it weighs about 2.5 tons and has a length of 7 meters. That is the size of an adult African elephant. The mother feeds it milk, the fat content of which reaches 50%. For comparison, the fat content of cow's milk is about 4%. On this superfuel, the calf gains up to 90 kilograms of weight per day, about 4 kilograms per hour. By 7 months, it doubles its length and reaches a weight of 23 tons. Growth rates that have no analogs in the animal world. And with all this, the blue whale feeds on one of the smallest creatures in the ocean, krill. Krill is a crustacean about 5 centimeters long, looking like a tiny shrimp. A blue whale swallows up to 500 kilograms of krill along with water at one time, filters the water through baleen plates, and swallows the crustaceans. In a day, it eats up to 4 tons of krill, approximately 40 million individual crustaceans. The largest animal in the history of the Earth lives off creatures that can be crushed with 2 fingers. There is some cosmic irony in this. The blue whale did not reach such sizes immediately. Its ancestors, early baleen whales, were significantly smaller, the size of a modern dolphin. Gigantism developed relatively recently by evolutionary standards, in the last 3.5 million years, coinciding with the beginning of glacial cycles. The cooling of the oceans caused a restructuring of ocean currents and seasonal explosions of productivity. In periods when the concentration of krill in certain areas reached incredible values, a whale that could reach these areas and absorb the maximum amount of food in a minimum amount of time gained a colossal advantage. A large whale swims faster, dives deeper, and swallows more water at one time. Evolution began to select in favor of gigantism, and over several million years, baleen whales grew from modest sizes to 30-meter colossi. But gigantism has a price. The blue whale depends on krill absolutely. If krill populations decline, it will have nothing to eat. This is exactly what is happening right now. The warming of the oceans is reducing the area of Antarctic ice under which krill reproduce. According to some studies, the biomass of Antarctic krill has decreased by 80% since the 70s of the 20th century. The blue whale, which survived millions of years of glacial cycles, may not survive several decades of anthropogenic warming. Humanity has already once almost destroyed the blue whale. The industrial whaling industry of the 20th century reduced its population from approximately 300,000 individuals to less than 5,000 by the mid-60s. The international ban on commercial whaling introduced in 1966 saved the species from total destruction. Since then, the population has been slowly recovering. According to recent estimates, between 10 and 25,000 blue whales live in the world's oceans. Now, this is still a tiny fraction of the original number, and the species remains on the endangered list. There is a bitter irony in the fact that the largest animal in the entire history of life on Earth exists simultaneously with the only species capable of destroying it. The blue whale survived ice ages, survived climatic catastrophes, survived millions of years of natural selection, but it was almost exterminated by Norwegian and Japanese harpooners in a few decades of the 20th century. Whaling ships with steam engines and explosive harpoons, technologies that turned whale hunting from a dangerous craft into an industrial conveyor, killed 30,000 blue whales a year in the peak years of the industry. This was destruction on a scale with no analogs for large animals. In 60 years, humanity did to the blue whale what climatic catastrophes could not do in millions of years. 5 creatures, 5 eras, Shastasaurus, 220 million years ago. A giant torpedo with a toothless mouth, sucking squids in the primeval ocean of Panthalassa. Liopleurodon and its pliosaur relatives, 160 million years ago. Flying predators of the Jurassic seas with skulls the size of a human. Megalodon from 23 to 3.5 million years ago. A warm-blooded, whale-killing shark with teeth the size of a palm. Basilosaurus 40 million years ago. A serpentine predatory whale with rudimentary legs and a small brain. And the blue whale right now, the largest animal in the entire history of life on Earth, feeding on crustaceans the size of a little finger and slowly losing the war with ocean warming. Each of these giants was created by its era, and each was destroyed or brought to the brink of destruction when the era changed. Shastasaurus was killed by the Triassic extinction, pliosaurs by the Cretaceous, Megalodon by the Pliocene cooling, Basilosaurus by competition with more advanced descendants. We almost killed the blue whale and possibly will still kill it if we do not stop what we are doing to its ocean. The ocean has always produced giants. The question is whether we will allow it to continue doing so, because an ocean without giants is not an ocean, it is an aquarium. Each of the 5 creatures on this list proves one thing. Life strives for the maximum, for maximum size, maximum strength, maximum speed. The ocean is the only environment on Earth where this maximum can be realized without the limitations of gravity. To remove giants from the ocean means to remove from it what makes it an ocean. Shastasaurus, Liopleurodon, Megalodon, Basilosaurus. They are all gone. The blue whale is still here.